And the security tensions have a direct impact on the political turmoil in the country, bringing the already unstable coalition perhaps a bit closer to its end. And to unfold it all, I'm now joined in studio by Keller-Lynn, political correspondent for the Times of Israel. Thank you very much for coming in studio this evening. Before we dive into the political quagmire, the last rocket fired from the Gaza Strip towards Israel was 107 days ago. And some would say it's the time of the season, right? Last May was the time of massive uptick in violence. Here we go again.
Ellie, I think you said it so well yourself. The last rocket was 107 days ago until right now. I believe it was fired by Islamic Jihad, which is significant because although a rocket was fired, ultimately it wasn't fired by Hamas, and Hamas has actually been putting subtle pressure on Islamic Jihad not to escalate the tensions. Of course, we've seen tensions escalate in the last week, and this is, as you said, it's one of those steps on the way to blowing this into a larger scale conflict.
Right. Speaking of pressure on the political arena, the Islamic Arab Ram Party has been under heavy pressure, or I would even dare to say scrutiny from the get-go, deciding to team up with the Naftali Bennett-led coalition. The events on the ground really pushed it further, and the allegedly dramatic decision to freeze cooperation with the coalition is not so dramatic, right? Because it's somewhat eating the cake and having it too.
It isn't. It isn't. As you said, it doesn't mean that something is going to happen right now. What it speaks more to are the tensions inside Ram itself. Because although it's been very contentious within Israeli mainstream Jewish politics for Ram to have joined the coalition, it's even more so within Arab politics. Ram has taken a really big step. And actually, its leader, Mansour Abbas, took a really big step in joining the coalition. And this is not found purchase in all of Ram's base. And that is actually what this fight is about. The freeze is about the split, the very real split right now within Ram itself, about whether to continue down this path of actively participating in Israeli politics despite not having any sort of real tangible wins, or to return to the joint list style staying out.
Right. And it's somewhat counterintuitive, and I would even say tragic, that for the first time in Israel's history, we're seeing an Islamic Arab party taking an active part in the Israeli political game. And during this time frame, the Israeli Arab society not really playing along. What do you think will be the long-term ramifications in terms of, again, Arab active participation in Israeli politics?
There's a couple of layers to that. First of all, Arab active participation in politics at all is a downward trend. We're seeing early numbers. I spoke to some Arab pollsters who said that they're expecting only 40% eligible Arab voter turnout should there be an upcoming election. So there's really this exhaustion within Arab society writ large. But in terms of this play by Abbas, I think the future is yet to be written. We're only 10 months into this coalition. People expected some low-hanging fruit to be delivered on quickly. That never actually happens in reality. And we're still waiting to see whether this would work out. And what we need to see is, could Abbas rally the support within his own party to continue in this experiment long enough to see if it can deliver on results?
Well, so far it seems that he's handling this crisis quite successfully, because he was the one trying to convince the Shura Council, this decision-making body, not to sever ties but freeze them. But speaking of the overall stability or lack thereof of the coalition, lots of drama. It's recess for Parliament, so nothing is pressing, but in a few weeks' time, it will be.
Absolutely. So we're looking at a 3-week break until recess ends, and all eyes are on a couple of players until that happens. Eyes are on Ram to see what Ram will do with its 4 seats. Eyes are also on the Prime Minister's Yamina party. The Prime Minister's party itself has surprisingly been the weakest link in this coalition, and there are a number of members of Knesset within his own party that eyes are on as to what they would do next. A lot of eyes right now are on Yair. He had an ultimatum that he basically delivered last week, in which he said he needs 3 things. He's received 2.5 of them, waiting to see what would happen if he gets them all. More eyes are on Abir Kara, another member of the coalition who's currently abroad. So until Wednesday, we might not actually hear what he has to think. But there are many problems, not just the ones posed by Ram, but mainly posed by the Prime Minister's own party.